Hello and welcome. I'm pleased to be here with Professor Ahmed Davutoğlu, the former Prime Minister and former Foreign Minister in Turkey. Mr. Prime Minister, thank you for joining us. Thank you for accepting our invitation.
Thank you very much.
113 days. We all watching a live genocide in Gaza. 26,000 killed, more than 70,000 injured, and almost 2 million people in Gaza have been displaced.
Yes.
How do you comment on this live genocide?
First of all, I want to salute heroic brothers and sisters in Gaza. No other people could defend their homes, their families, their country in such a strong way. In fact, many who blamed Palestinians to start the attack 7th of October, which is not true. The history did not start 7th of October. There is 75 years before. But most of the people were expecting that Israel will will defeat these heroic people on the ground. But they are still resisting. This is very valuable. They are fighting not only for Palestinians, for next generation of Palestinians, but for not only for Arabs or for Muslims. They are defending human dignity. And this is a test for all humanity everywhere in the world. Israel is committing a genocide. It is not an ordinary attack. I was mediating between Israel and Hamas in 2009 war, 2012 war, 2014. And 2012, I was in Gaza together with 10 Arab ministers. When the bombardment, Israeli bombardment started, they left Gaza. I was told by my security that we should leave as well. I said, no, we will stay and we will leave the destiny of our brothers and sisters there. And we continued to stay throughout night, and we went to Shifa hospital. From that experience, I know how Gazan people are strong in resisting. But this and 2014 also, I tried to achieve ceasefire as a mediator together with our Qatari brothers. But the difference of this is that, as Israeli Minister of Defense Gallant said, these are the indications of a genocidal mentality. He said we are fighting against human animals. So they are superhuman, and Gazans are human animals. This is the genocide mentality itself. No other people or leader before claimed other nation human animal. And he said, we do not recognize any restraint. It means they can use any methodology to fight, to eliminate. And he says, we will eliminate everything in Gaza. These are the genocidal pillars. They are there to fight against animals, and they are there to eliminate everything through every weapons. And this is not a crisis in Gaza anymore. This is a crisis of humanity. Therefore, immediately after the attack, when people are making comments criticizing Hamas, I clearly said in Turkey and to international press that there is a background of this. For several months, Masjid al-Aqsa was invaded by dogs, by police, and Muslims were beaten, tortured for several months, unfortunately. For the last 4 or 5 years, many Arab states, including my own country, Turkey, started to normalize relations with Israel without making any reference to Palestine. This is a huge responsibility on the shoulder of Arab and Muslim states. Normalizing relations with Palestine, with Israel, without referring to Palestine means you are leaving Palestine to the will of Israelis.
But they claim that this normalization with Israel for the sake of Palestinian people.
No. What is the interest of Palestinians? After the so famous Abrahamic Convention, what did Palestinians gain? I told this in Turkey. Okay, our president also has shaken the hand of Netanyahu. What did the Palestinians gain? What was the result? Before, yes, we were sometimes talking to Israelis, but for ceasefire, for mediation, for the sake of Palestinians. But this time, Normalization was without reference. And more important, Brother Osama, when I saw that picture, my heart was shaken. My heart was, rebelling. Netanyahu showed a map in UN General Assembly 22nd of September 2023. In UN General Assembly, where I spoke tens of times, and I was there when Palestine was recognized as a non-member state status in 2012 November. I was there together with Mahmoud Abbas. I was the only Muslim minister there defending Palestine. And in the same room, in the same hall, Netanyahu showed a map that there is no Palestine. There is only Israel in all lands from river to the sea. What was the reaction of these countries? What was the reaction of Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, or all others? I don't want to name all the countries.
They are saying we can't announce a war against Israel. The United States is backing Israel, the EU, the many countries around the world. So the Arab countries can mediate this conflict as they describe it, but they can't announce the war.
War is not the only instrument, or military tension is not the only instrument in solving the crisis. Why the other leaders of Israel were not able to show such a map in UN General Assembly, and why Netanyahu until this year didn't show such a map? Because they realized that leaders of the Muslim countries are ready to normalize relations for different reasons without making reference to Palestine. So Palestinians left alone to the destiny, and they decided to take their decision, their destiny in their hand. Who can criticize a nation, a people, who decide to take their own destiny in their hand in an occupied land?
Yeah.
So if this is the case for Muslim countries, there is a challenge. Okay, now you do whatever you can do.
We will talk in a bit about what they can do, but a wise man once said, and I quote, "We know too well that our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of Palestinians." His name was Nelson Mandela. Yeah. And South Africa now took the initiative and went to the ICJ, accused Israel with committing genocide. Why South Africa took the initiative, not any Arab or Muslim country?
Yeah, that's very important. This question is the question of Muslim Ummah everywhere. Interestingly, after 7th of October, I made a statement in Turkey supporting Palestinian side. I was attacked by everybody. 2 days after this, I visited Palestinian embassy. And next day in Turkish National Assembly, I declared 12 steps to be taken. One of these steps, several steps, ban of trade with Israel, addressing to my own country. Unfortunately, they continue to have this trade.
As
closing
country.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Closing airspace to Israeli flights, implementing certain sanctions, and stopping or suspending all diplomatic relations. Then one of them was from Turkish Parliament. In the first week of the crisis, I said Muslim countries should apply to ICJ, International Court of Justice, and Turkey should lead this process. Some ignorant people said, but Turkey is not part of ICJ. They mean ICC. I said, no, ICJ, every member of UN can apply. ICC is another step for and for ICC, other Muslim countries can do. And when there was a summit in Riyadh before for OIC and Arab League summit, I made another declaration and I called, please go to ICJ, International Court of Justice. But not only this, I wrote a letter to President Ramaphosa, beginning of November, 4th of November. I wrote a letter to President Lula. They were the chair of UN Security Council. We had close relation with him before. I had letters to President Putin, President Xi, German Chancellor, all leaders. But to Ramaphosa, I especially made a reference that children of Nelson Mandela, I am sure you will lead this process. And then he responded, the ambassador in Ankara, South African ambassador, replied back with the greetings of President Ramaphosa. And I visited them to thank him. And here I am again thank to President Ramaphosa for his courageous step forward. Their name will be written in the history, not history of Palestine, in the history of humanity. And Muslim countries, including my own country, missed a great opportunity to lead such a humanitarian step to stop a genocide. Really, this is the question. Why Arabs and Muslim countries missed this opportunity or didn't do anything historic responsibility on their shoulders? Because there is a problem of leadership. To run, to lead the sentiments of the Muslims and Arabs everywhere. I don't mean personal leader, I mean the guidance, the step forward. Also civil societies in the Muslim world, they were silent. They didn't make pressure on their governments. Civil society in Western countries, where their voice were much more vocal. Now it is a challenge in front of us. When I realized that the governmental activities are not sufficient, I started another initiative together with Richard Falk, a very famous, well-known international lawyer, 92 years old, and he was UN rapporteur when I was Minister of Foreign Affairs, mediating during 2009, 2012, 2014 wars. He was UN rapporteur of Palestine, and therefore he was threatened by Israel, and he was arrested in Tel Aviv airport. With Richard, we established a group of intellectuals of global conscience almost from 40 different countries. And we opened a signatory, we declared a declaration, we made a declaration, and 139 leading statesmen, Nobel Prize winners, Pulitzer winners of media, social activists, human rights activists from everywhere, from Africa, from Asia, from Latin America, from everywhere. Then in London, yesterday we had a conference together. 60 out of these signatories came from 25 countries, and we tried to mobilize civil society. We tried to make pressure, and today we will declare another statement asking the governments to do more. So the human conscience, regardless of ethnic, religious background, were much more influential, much better organized than the political decision makers of the Muslim world. This is painful.
Yeah. What do you expect from your conference? The result will be a protest in Arabic countries? The people will move more and more the civil society, or what?
Our purpose is not protest. Our purpose is to create an intellectual voice, a global voice of respected intellectuals as well as international lawyers. Addressing, criticizing, of course, Israel. Before ICJ decision, we declared this as a genocide. In a Zoom meeting, UN officers, international lawyers, we discussed whether it is really genocide or not. And we agreed that this is a genocide. This was 18th of December, and we declared this. Then we are urging countries to act. We are urging United Nations and international organizations to act. Today we will make a very short statement I will extend to you as well. And we are not only criticizing Israel, we are criticizing those who are helping Israel. They are as criminal because they are just helping them. It was coincidence, but this is God's decision, alhamdulillah. We planned this meeting for 27th yesterday, 1 month ago. But one day before us, ICJ decision came. And since they are all experts, today in our sessions, we made assessment what ICJ decision means and what could be done. And therefore, we are putting certain suggestions to international organizations, to countries, and to civil society.
Regarding this question, what ICJ resolution means, it was controversial. Many people were disappointed. There is no immediate and permanent ceasefire, and this is what Gazan people need now. And other was optimistic and said this is a historic, this is a milestone. What's your assessment for the ICJ resolution?
Yesterday we made a very comprehensive assessment. Let me say first, no decision could be fully satisfying. You have to look what are important for you. And this, of course, another important element is there should be a majority of judges, and there is a vast majority, 13 to 15 to 2. So vast majority there. What do we have here? The most important, yes, that I mentioned in the conference from ICJ decision is that Israelis think that Israel is not an ordinary state. Israel is a super state. Israel is a part of United States. So all the other nations, all the other countries are subject to international law, subject to international courts. But Israel is immune. Nobody can touch them. Nobody can criticize them. Just to clarify this, you know, flotilla issue 2010,
Yep.
Mavi Marmara, I made a speech in UN Security
You were the
Council.
foreign minister at the time.
Yeah, I was foreign minister. I went to New York. I made a speech. In my speech, I declared Israel as a state terror, terrorist state implementing terrorist actions, and killed civilians in international sea. When I finished my speech, I don't want to give the name, but very senior, one of the senior UN representatives, authorities, he approached to me. He said, Mr. Minister, please be careful of your security, because I didn't listen such a speech in UN Security Council until now. You declared them as terrorists. Please take care of security. I said, I have tawakkul to God, and I am not scared of anything. But why I am giving this? In UN, there was such a psychology that nobody can speak against Israel. This decision is important because Israel is being seen as an ordinary state, accountable in international court. That is a historic transformation. Normalization with Israel is those who are defending normalization with Israel. I was always telling, not normalization with Israel. First, normalize Israel as an ordinary state. Normalize them as an ordinary human beings. So that perspective is, first time ever, Israel is becoming accountable. Second, International Court of Justice rejected Israel's demand just to refuse these claims of South Africa. South Africa clearly claimed that this is a genocide. And ICJ rejected this demand. It means ICJ saw this as a case of genocide. Of course, this is a process. This is a ruling. It is not decision. It is a ruling, interim ruling. This process will continue maybe 2 months, 2 years, 3 years, like what is related to Rohingya issue. Yep. But that process started. Now, the next, I am sure Netanyahu did not sleep well yesterday, because the next step after that, Netanyahu will be accountable in front of ICC, like what happened to Milosevic or Radovan Karadzic or other genocide makers.
Netanyahu described this resolution as shameful for many generations.
Yes, yes, because now he's scared. And can you imagine, they think that they are giant. And Blinken came and said, we are with you, came here as a Jew. Now, American judge in ICJ was one of the strongest defenders of the case of South Africa. So it means the gap between American, even inside America, American judge and American policymakers, American public opinion, they are differentiating. These are very important steps forward. About ceasefire, I told yesterday in my speech here, it is not their duty to declare these, but inherently, there is a ceasefire demand in the text. Why? Not explicitly, but inherently and implicitly. Why? Because no measures raised by ICJ could be implemented without a ceasefire.
Definitely.
Assume that humanitarian, they say Israel should not prevent humanitarian assistance to Gaza. You need a ceasefire for humanitarian assistance. So in every sentence, in fact, it says ceasefire is a sine qua non. It means it is a must. So we should not think, we should not give excuse to the hand of Israelis, or Israelis should not be happy that there is no call for ceasefire. No, there is call for ceasefire in every sentence of ICJ court decision, ICJ decision ruling. Another important. Now, ICJ rulings give responsibility to international community and to individual countries. What is this responsibility? Now I am calling from here to Muslim countries. Based on ICJ decision, you can organize a coalition of willing without waiting the decision of UN Security Council and declare that ICJ asked Israel not to prevent any humanitarian aid to Gaza. Based on this ruling, we, Muslim countries, this, I don't want to give name, including Turkey and others, and Egypt and others, everybody has responsibility. They can organize a humanitarian convoy by sea or airdropping by air, and Israel cannot prevent this. And openly say, we do not declare war to Israel, or we do not want military, we do not do military operation against Israel. But this is a humanitarian operation. But if Israel intervenes, this means a declaration of war by Israel. So that US will take it seriously, that regionalization of this tension may create this problem.
There are
so there
many things here.
Yeah, but one additional point about ICJ decision. ICJ decision ruling is important. Same hour or 1 hour after ICJ ruling, USA, Canada, some countries cut the fund for UNRWA. This is against ICJ. The Muslim countries should start a case against those countries who cut fund from UNRWA, because they are not respecting the ruling of ICJ. So we should not think only regarding Israel. Based on ICJ, we can request from UN to do certain actions. We can request from US to do certain actions. But this could be seen only, could be realized only if you have a political will in your hand. If you think independently, if you feel the heart of Palestinians in your heart, the pain of Palestinians in your heart, not just shouting to domestic publics, but it is time to act now internationally, regionally, to end this genocide in Gaza.
Talking about UNRWA and cutting the fund from the US, Canada, and other countries backing Israel, the question is, where is the Arab country not pursuing the United States or United Kingdom, but why Arab countries like Egypt, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Qatar do not fund the UNRWA, do not help the
That's
UNRWA?
Another, that's another, yes. Just in the meeting, we asked to one friend from Palestine, Mustafa Barghouti, what is the total fund of UNRWA, given by US? Some friends said around $300 million US. Arab states, some Arab friends, they are buying soccer teams of Britain, France, or whatever, or some players with this amount of money.
And others buy a presidential plane,
Turkey, yes.
the Air Force One and the presidential plane with
all of them.
500 million.
Why? Are the lives of people of Gaza so cheap? Why are we begging from other nations, and now why we are not funding them? No people will be against their government if the government decides to give some assistance to UNRWA. But this is again a decision. They do not want to act against the United States.
There is 57 members in the Organization of Islamic Cooperation.
I am calling now.
Where are they?
I am calling, making a call to all of them. Organize one convoy by ship, by sea to Gaza with 57 flags on it. And say that if there is any attack by Israel to this humanitarian convoy, would mean attack to us. 57 flags on 57 ships, or even one ship, or airdropping, sending helicopters to Gaza, dropping not bombs but medicines, foods, food and all the, and tell to the United States first, this is our mission. We cannot tolerate this. Then let us see what will happen. All of them are waiting that this war will end and they will continue their business, business with Israel as usual.
Yeah.
Because they don't, it is a shame for me as a former Prime Minister of Turkey that my country did not stop trade with Israel. In every meeting in National Assembly, I am raising this voice.
This is a good point. Which country of the 57 members of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation should take the initiative? Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Turkey?
All of them, but let me say there are certain countries having certain special responsibilities.
Yep.
Starting from my own country. I mean, Turkey is, if we are a regional power, Turkey should tell to United States as a member of NATO and to all the countries that Turkey will take every action to stop this genocide. And first, but they have to cut relations with Israel, trade relations, not sending oil, not sending food, not sending military equipment. And I told, close the airspace to Israeli flights. No Israeli flight should go through Turkish airspace. Egypt has special responsibility because Egypt is the only gate to Rafah. We sent 4 members of parliament from our party, from our parliamentary group to Egypt to go to Rafah and to go to Gaza.
What happened there?
But they were not able to go beyond Ismailia.
Why?
Why? Because this is security zone. They said there should be a request from Turkish government, but Turkish government, because we are in opposition, they didn't give this this request. But now Rafah is not the gate of Egypt. Rafah is the gate of humanity to Gaza. And my wife, a gynecologist, she applied to Turkish Minister of Health to go to Gaza with a group of doctors.
But even if a Turkish parliament member arrived to Cairo or Ismailia, why the Egyptian authorities prevent him? What is the relation of the Turkish government here?
Yeah,
it's a humanitarian issue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So they don't want to be this tragedy to be seen, maybe. But this is a problem. I myself, I am ready to go to Gaza. I went there in 2012.
Yeah.
Why don't we organize a assume that the existing leaders, they have certain concerns because of their position. I don't have any concern. Yeah. Assume that myself and some former prime ministers, some former presidents. I know, for example, President Mansour Marzouki, he signed our declaration. I know Amr Moussa signed our declaration. Many of them might be ready to come.
Egyptian regime responds to this.
Yeah,
they said it's you should write a consent. You will take the responsibility of your safety.
Okay, no problem.
They can't take the responsibility.
Okay, we don't need any guarantee. Guarantees from God.
Okay.
We know when we will be dying. I was in Gaza 2012 November. I didn't ask to anyone. It was my own decision. If I was killed, my wife was with me. If we were killed, it was our decision. I am ready to take this risk. I am calling to former prime ministers, ministers, well-known people from the Muslim world. Have a delegation, join. I am ready to lead or to be a member of this. We should come together. I don't want to give the name. There are so many names. We can form a delegation, go to Egypt, and we can request from Egypt only to allow us. Yes, it is our responsibility.
Okay.
Let us die. Why shouldn't we be ready to be killed just to prevent killing of thousands of children and amputated? Every day, average 10 children being amputated, both legs or arms being lost, and some dies because of the absence of anesthesia. And now 1,000 children amputated. In Ukraine, in 2 years, only 30 of them. Why are we waiting in our houses, luxury places? Don't be ashamed when we look to our grandchildren, to our children, loving them, embracing them, kissing them, without thinking how women mothers, fathers, children are being killed. So I am declaring here, I am begging, I am requesting from Egypt, allow us to go there. Allow us to go there.
You think
and I am calling all former prime ministers again.
If you create this delegation, and there is a plenty former prime ministers and ministers accepting this and join you to this delegation, do you think Egyptian regime will allow you to
I don't know.
pass Ismailia and arrive to Rafah crossing?
It is their decision. But I can assure you, in 2 weeks, yes, 2 weeks' time, we brought so many intellectuals from 25 countries. Some of them are Christian, some of them are Jew, some of them are Hindu, Buddhist, maybe atheist. But they, if they allow us now, I am sure almost all of them are ready to go to Gaza to show the conscience of the humanity. Not only official former prime ministers, but I am sure many former prime ministers from Europe or ministers from Africa or Latin America, they will be joining to this delegation. From our own countries, I want just one thing, do not prevent this initiative. Because sometimes for political reasons, they do not allow this to happen. And from Egypt, let us be allowed to do so.
Okay.
We will take our own decision. And from Jordan, Jordan is the custodian, king of Jordan, our close friend, and I respect him personally. But they are responsible, they have responsibility on Masjid al-Aqsa, legal, international power to say. And we can go to the Alembi, to West Bank to show our solidarity to Palestinian Authority. And I am also calling to my dear friend, President Abbas. We were together in UN General Assembly when Palestine was recognized as a non-member state in UN. Now I am calling him. You are the leader of Palestinian Authority. You are the leader of Palestine. Gaza is part of Palestine. I call upon President Abbas to go to Gaza. It is Israel, it is not Israeli territory, it is Palestinian territory. No country can prevent you, neither US nor any other country. You declare that I want to go to Gaza. I want to be with my people. And we, this international delegation, will be in Gaza. If Egypt allows us to go there, and together with Mahmoud Abbas, we can give a picture to the world that enough is enough. We don't want to just watch a genocide by TV.
Egyptian presidents said many times in different statements that the Rafah crossing is open 24/7 and there is nothing to do from the Egyptian side. It's Israel who decide who enter, who exit the Rafah crossing. So if you arrive to Rafah crossing, Egyptian president will say, we have nothing to do. Israel should permit.
Okay, we will not ask permission from Israel. We will go inside. Okay, let Israel bombard us. Important is Egypt, if Egyptian authorities think that this is the end of Egyptian authority, okay, we will go to Rafah. Their responsibility will be over. We will go inside. Our responsibility will be on our own. The destiny of Palestine, of Gaza, will be our destiny. We are ready to take that risk. Personally, I am saying this. But I am sure many concerned leaders, former ministers will join me. Many intellectuals will join me. We want from Egypt just allowing us to go to Rafah. And the rest, okay, let Netanyahu decide killing so many former ministers on the ground. We will be killed maybe, but the rest, children will be saved. Let Netanyahu to decide to kill former Turkish prime minister on the ground, former this country's minister of prime minister. Then how will feel 85 million Turks in Turkey? I am sure next day they will stop this attack. If they kill us, we will be killed. I am ready to be shaheed. There are so many shuhada. And this is our duty. This is our duty to stop. Brother Usame, I know Israeli mentality. I dealt with them several times. I was mediator between Israel and Syria. I was mediator in Lebanese war, civil war. I was mediator between Israel and Hamas. Israel will not stop if there is not enough deterrence by US, by international community, or by civil actions.
Okay.
Now, I am not anymore former Prime Minister of Turkey. I am Ahmed bin Dawood. I will go there as a human being and enter Gaza with my colleagues, not Turkish colleagues, from different countries. I am sure hundreds of them will be joining us.
Okay. You mentioned several times in 2020 you visited Gaza with 10 Arab
2012.
ministers. 12, yeah. With 10 Arab ministers, you witnessed the suffering of Palestinians. I was in Egypt at the time. I still remember the video. You were crying inside the Shifa hospital when you hugged a father of a Palestinian was
daughter.
Killed. Yeah, his daughter was killed in the hospital. Now there is no Al-Shifa hospital. Israel raided the hospital. It's out of service with the most hospitals in Gaza. There is no ministers from Arab or Muslim countries inside Gaza, inside Al-Shifa hospital. How do you feel about this?
Very painful, really shameful, painful. You know, I went to Bosnia after the war as academician. In Foča there was a mosque, demolished, became park. I asked my students to go there. They said, there is no mosque anymore. I said, I will go and I will pray there to rebuild it again. You know, Brother Osama, this was from 1996 or 7.
Yeah.
2009, I was minister. I applied to an UNESCO to rebuild this Alaja Mosque. And when I resigned as prime minister, 70–80% of mosque were built, and mosque is now functioning. And why I am in this example, I want to go to a Shifa hospital, the same place, with the doctors, including my wife, like 2012. And we will say, we will rebuild Dar al-Shifa. We will rebuild Shifa hospital. I am sure millions of people will donate money, and I personally guarantee that we will rebuild Shifa hospital. But important thing even before that, in fact, Israel must compensate. If there is a genocide case, not if there is a genocide case according to ICJ, so Israel must compensate all the damage they made in Gaza. The important thing is not reconstruction of Gaza. We will be able to do this as ordinary individuals as well.
Yeah.
But important is Israel must compensate what damage they had did for this.
Okay, back to the Israel mentality of genocide, and there is something quite interesting. You were the Turkish foreign minister in 2010 during the Mavi Marmara ship incidents. The Israeli narrative in the early days at time is quite similar to the narrative after October 7th. For example, the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs published on September 2010, and I quote, "Numerous passengers of the Mavi Marmara were preparing for a violent confrontation. They put on gas masks and armed themselves with rods, slingshots, broken bottles, metal objects, and water hoses. When the IDF soldiers landed on the ship, a large group of passengers immediately started to attack them with these objects and shot them. They also said that the IHH was linked to a terrorist organizations and have ties with Hamas, as they pronounce it. This month, Israeli officials accused South Africa that it has ties with Hamas, and Itamar Ben Gvir, the minister in Netanyahu government, accused the ICJ of anti-Semitism. How do you comment?
It is interesting. When Khalid Meshal came to Turkey 2006 after the democratic elections in Palestine, I was chief advisor and I received him. Next day, he was not. There was a huge pressure from international circles as well as from the pro-Jewish, pro-Israeli lobby in Turkey, and Prime Minister Erdogan didn't meet him. We arranged a meeting with Minister Gül, and then I met him. Next day, the most circulating newspaper, pro-Israeli newspaper, at that time, published my photo, full page, front page, and said, he is behind the terror, meaning me. And in some American documents in WikiLeaks, they declared me as the most dangerous man in the Middle East. They will say this. They will anyway say this. What is our mission? Will we just obey to this type of, we will be scared of this language? I salute Guinea African President Ramaphosa. I salute Guinea African friends, brothers and sisters in humanity. They were not scared. They are in the history. Scared people, concerned people, or people who are thinking their own individual egoistic existence, or scared of threats, or because of files, they cannot be in the history. Only courageous people write history. And here, this narrative was there. When our students were killed from the United Nations Security Council meeting in 2010, I went to Washington. I met with Hillary Clinton. I met with Jim Jones. I told them, I am giving you 48 hours. You must tell Israelis, you must release, they must release all passengers. Okay. And Ehud Barak called me, asking some time to send them. I said, no. I want all of my passengers coming to Turkey after 24 hours, at that time, Wednesday, 12 o'clock midnight. Otherwise, we will take all the actions. You know, after a few hours, Jim Jones responded. I was in Washington, coming back to Ankara. He said, Mr. Minister, Israel will release all Turkish citizens except 7 of them, including İHA leader Bülent Yıldırım, because they are linked to terrorist organizations. Okay? I told him, tell Israeli side, they must release not all Turkish citizens, they must release all passengers. They were Greeks, Europeans, all passengers. And regarding Turkish citizens, we know who are terrorists or not. We know if there is a terrorist link, they are our citizens. It is our business. It's not your business. I do not accept any of them staying back in Israel. Even the injured one, we want. 12 o'clock, midnight, Wednesday. You know, 12 o'clock, midnight, 2 planes were ready. They kept Bülent Yıldırım and 7 of them, claiming that they might be terrorist links. I said to the other plane, you will not leave Tel Aviv airport until Bülent Yıldırım is in the plane. When he is in, I called him. I said, are you in? Yes. Everybody, now you are responsible. All passengers must be there. Are you sure that they are all? Yes, now we leave. Why I am giving this example? We should not let Israelis to define who is terrorist, who is not. Okay? They may claim, but their claim is not there. Now, when this Khalid Meshal visited us 2006, next day I saw American ambassador. I told him, if he is a terrorist, why did you allow them to participate in the election? If they participated in the election as a legal party, why do you not recognize the democratic right of choice of Palestinian people when you are claiming in Iraq to build a democracy, but you are destroying democracy in Palestine? For us, all Palestinians are equal. They won the election. We will act them as a democratic party. If PLO won the election, the same. Why I am giving these details? We Israelis, they want to define who is good, who is wrong. Like Hollywood movies. There are good guys, there are bad guys. The scenario writer decides who is good, who is wrong, bad. We should not allow Israelis to be scenario writers. Okay? We know who is good, who is bad.
But you're now confronting the law in the US, in the United Kingdom, in many countries, they are considered Hamas as a terrorist group.
It is their decision. Once they told me, You know, they are like ISIS. Again, in Turkey, after when I defended 7th of October, I mean, Palestinians' right to resist, even including our government did not take an action, a position for several days. They attacked me that Hamas is like ISIS. I said, no. Hamas is terror. No. Did you see any action by Hamas outside Palestine? PLO, you declared terrorist, but PLO made an attack in Munich Olympic Games. But is there any attack by Hamas outside Palestine? No. They are defending their lands. 70% of Gazan people are refugees from the other parts of Palestine. So they have this right of resistance. So Hamas, if you want Hamas to be a democratic player on the ground, then you should respect the democratic choice of Palestinian people. Organize an election, but accept the right of self-determination of Palestine. You do not impose a solution. It is their land for centuries. It is their land. It is their home. It is their family. So, therefore,
the Western narrative is, okay, talking about their land of Palestinians, but not Hamas. They should eliminate Hamas. They should destroy Hamas.
Who is Hamas? Assume that in 2006, I think around 50% or maybe even more voted for Hamas. Does it mean that all those voted for Hamas, they are not Palestinians? Or is there any foreign elements inside in Hamas? If you identify, then okay, foreign fighters, but there is no. In Gaza, those who are defending their lands, they are Palestinians. They have to admit this fact. Of course, they can claim anything. They can create any narrative. But we have to fight against these narratives. We should not be accepting their relatives as the only truth. This is media. BBC is giving news like this. 1,200 Israelis were killed by Hamas. 3,000 Palestinians died.
Without identifying
the
other side.
During conflict. There is no subject. Who did this? Who did kill? So, but with this ICJ court, ruling, I am sure many things will change. We can easily claim, we have to prepare a long-term approach. We can easily claim to media organizations defending Israel on the ground that they are in fact defending genocide.
Yeah.
So therefore, in our conference today here, since we know that there may be long time needed for the final decision of ICJ, we decided to have People's Tribunal, to form a People's Tribunal. People's Tribunal, as you know, was first organized by famous philosopher Bertrand Russell and Jean-Paul Sartre. They organized this to judge American war in Vietnam. And then it became a tradition. We decided today to have such a, because there are many international lawyers among us, to have a People's Tribunal as soon as possible to have a final decision with the evidences, normal procedures against Netanyahu and Israel.
Okay.
But here I am also calling any Muslim country hosting us to have such a People's Tribunal in any of them supporting.
Okay, regarding the Muslim countries and the Muslim people specifically, this is my final question. In 2011, after the revolution, I was in Tahrir Square. We have raised the Egyptian flag as well as the Palestinian flag. And in 2012, when Israeli invaded Gaza and bombarded Gaza, there is a lot of my friends in the revolution, they crossed the Rafah crossing and demonstrate in front of a Shifa hospital and shouting, hey, Palestinians, we are the same blood, we have the same religion, we are with you. Where is the Egyptian people? Where is the people of Saudi Arabia, of Arab and Muslim countries?
Yeah, this is another shame. You know, Brother Osama, even in Turkey, what I observe and in many Muslim societies, unfortunately, we don't have civil society. Without having free, independent civil society, you cannot have such momentum. In our societies, all civil societies in our countries were like officers of the authority, of the political executive power, let me say. So they do not want to act until and unless executive power, president, prime minister, or government allows them to do so. And usually governments do this under their control, like what happened in Turkey. There were 2-3 demonstrations.
And in Egypt.
In
the
Egypt,
first week, Sisi called for administration.
In Egypt, we can, of course, in Egypt there has been, after coup, there has been the absence of civil society, but in Turkey, seemingly democratic country. Yeah, but there is an auto-censorship. In other Muslim countries as well, what will the government say to us? Will they accept or will they be against? We organized a rally as our party, but all the rest were by the permission of the government. Civil society should act independently. I can tell you, if this trade, continuing trade between Turkey and Israel occurred in 1990s, when there was a more secular or regime, I mean 28 February regime, all civil society in Turkey would protest. They will blockade this trade, ports, etc. But now they think, what will be the position of our government? Then when you think what will be the position of our government, this is the end of civil society. Mavi Marmara flotilla issue, I was minister. They came and they told me they want to go to Gaza. I said there are certain risks, but it is their decision. You are civil society. And we told to Americans, to Israelis, they are civil. Turkey is a democratic country. They said that they tried to blame on us, on Prime Minister Erdogan, myself, etc. We always said, no, Turkey is a democratic country. It is their decision. But they didn't violate Israeli sea. They were in international sea. Therefore, we defended them. They were not supposed to ask permission from us. But even if we have certain concerns, if they are being attacked by another country, it is our duty to defend them. This is not a matter of choice. But now, why don't we think the same?
So where are the people? Where are the people who participate in the Arab Spring in Egypt, in Tunisia, in other countries? Where they are?
Maybe because of, in order to have this control of Israel everywhere, the destiny of Arab Spring, maybe there is a linkage between these. If there were democratic, systems in in the region, there would have been a public opinion which could not be controlled. Say, like I gave my own country, Turkey, how things have changed. Therefore, we have to first, Islam means first, for me, is a religion of freedom. Once you pray to God, you believe in one God, you eliminate all other authorities except that authority, and that gives you freedom. But unfortunately, in our societies, there are so many authorities claiming that they are representing religion, they are representing national interest, they are representing this or that issue, but at the end of the day, they are acting for the benefit of those who are trying to prevent these values, to eliminate these values, and the best case is Gaza. Now, again, to Muslim scholars, academicians, intellectuals, media people, they should organize their own protests or their own projects regarding this, stopping this ideology. Then I, like what I proposed, we will follow up with you regarding the delegation. Thank you very much, Most welcome.
Mr. Former Prime Minister. Thank you.